Welcome, folks, to another episode of Cutting Through the Fairy Tale, where we rip apart Hollywood's glittering facade with our very own magic mirror. Today we're going to be talking about why Snow White is a lesson Disney won't forget anytime soon, because clearly this movie has taken center stage for all the wrong reasons. Snow White was released on March of 2025, and since then it's been making waves, and not the good kind. And I saw this from a football field away. From the trailer alone, this movie had enough controversy to last a decade worth of movies, so naturally it was expected that the actual release was going to be met with some heavy backlash, and sure enough, it was. First of all, let's talk about Rachel Zegler, because somehow she's at the center of all this. From the get-go, she was in a very hot spot, because a lot of purists felt that just by virtue of her descent, she couldn't play Snow White. Apparently, they felt that her Colombian and Polish heritage was too far removed from the traditional Snow White aesthetic. Personally, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's just not something anyone should be really bothered about because the character does resonate globally, but it is what it is. Some folks felt strongly about it. So there's already all that to deal with, and then she somehow becomes the scapegoat of a narrative initiated by Disney directors and producers. They decided they're going to give the classic story a modern twist, a twist that did not sit well with a lot of people. And Rachel Zegler wasn't shy about supporting this new narrative that Disney had for Snow White, a woman who's independent, self-reliant, and not just waiting around for the prince to save her. In the video I did prior, I talked about how Rachel saying the classic was outdated and weird was disingenuous because the Snow White story was Disney's first breakout. It was the story that made Disney's legacy as a household name. So trying to disregard the crux of the story that made Disney is just dumb. There's no other way to put it. However, what I didn't mention or what I didn't emphasize enough is the fact that Rachel Zegler didn't write or produce the remake. Disney executives did. So while she may have had her own opinions, the fact remains that she's still just an actor, and not that much of a high profile one either. So her opinions mean zilch if the executives at a company like Disney say otherwise. So this barrage of criticism at Rachel regarding this is somewhat misplaced. Nonetheless, I believe this is going to teach Disney a valuable lesson in staying true to the damn story if you're gonna milk it for what it's worth. Now let's talk about the Dwarves. The 7 dwarves in the original Snow White classic are a major deal. They're an ensemble of lovable, quirky miners whose antiques won the hearts of millions around the world. For this remake, however, Disney somehow found a way to overshadow all their charm. Critics were up in arms after discovering that only one actor with dwarfism was cast in the entire band of 7. Instead, the rest were filled by actors from various backgrounds. And can I just say this? I'm not one of those guys who screams woke at everything, but what on earth was the point of that? It's like they were just trying to not make any sense. Now, Disney claims it consulted with the dwarfism community to get things just right, but let's be honest, if you're gonna rewrite a classic, do it boldly, and by that I mean don't half-ass your dwarves. Just get 7 dwarves to play 7 dwarves. It's literally that simple. Out of thousands of actors in Hollywood just dreaming for their next big role, I guarantee you they can find 7 actual dwarves that fit their job description. And when Disney presented their train wreck casting to their audience, the backlash was so visceral, they decided to scrap using real-life actors altogether, and decided they'd be better off just using CGI dwarves. I'm sorry, but if you're gonna animate the characters in the first place, why bother making it live action? Anyway, the lesson for Disney here would be, if you want to keep the magic alive, maybe consider carefully casting the ensemble rather than treating it as an afterthought on a coffee break. And if you thought the casting and narrative tweaks alone were enough to basically earthquake this movie to destruction, think again, because if production mishaps don't kill you, political controversies definitely will. I mean, nothing says family-friendly fantasy like a splash of real-world political drama. Rachel Zegler, Snow White, yes, we're going back to her again, has never been one to shy away from voicing her opinions. She said everything ranging from criticisms of the Orange Man and his voters to passionate pro-Palestinian views. Surprise, surprise, people are not happy about that. Duh. As if that weren't enough, her co-star Gal Gadot has the exact opposite stance concerning Palestine. I don't know about you, but my sixth sense tells me that's a recipe for disaster, especially considering how vocal and passionate Rachel is about her beliefs. Now, it's reported that during filming they were mostly chill with each other and had a positive working relationship. It's after that shit started to hit the fan, because Rachel became more vocal about her pro-Palestinian view, and Gal Gadot wasn't too happy about that. Apparently, sources even claim that Gal Gadot got death threats after Rachel's post, forcing Disney to pay for extra security for her. It is wild, bro. And it doesn't stop there. Apparently, Disney had to hire a PR person to handle all of Rachel's social media, because of course they would, it's Disney. It's also been reported that they were doing separate press appearances leading up to the movie's release. Now, I'm all for free speech, everyone's entitled to their opinions, but when your words do more harm than good, I think it's only wise to be discerning of how far you're willing to go. Because remember, Rachel Zegler is an actress, it's a job, and she's not just any actress. She has been given the honor of representing this century-old character that means a lot to millions all over the world. It's a gigantic responsibility, and if a few tweets about your political opinions is going to ruin that for people, is it worth it? From all her actions so far, it's either she's grossly naive or she just doesn't care. In a twistedly funny way, Disney seems to have accidentally cast its film as a battleground for political ideologies. Now let's talk numbers, because even despite all the controversy, you might think that Disney's box office magic would still find a way to save the movie, right? Well, think again, because with a production budget soaring to about $250 million, Snow White's opening weekend was more like a fizzle than a bang, raking in just $43 million globally. Ouch. Mixed reviews and perhaps a public that's, grown tired of constant reboots have all contributed to this box office nightmare. Anyway, I'm curious to see how this movie fares. Truthfully, just from these numbers, we can't say the movie's definitively going to flop, but with a lot boycotting the movie and the people actually watching the movie saying it's not that good, it's hard to imagine a world where this movie breaks even. I mean, seriously, it's going to be really difficult for Snow White to turn a profit. And considering that it was made on a staggering $250 million budget, I mean, guys. So I'm curious to see how this movie does, but as things are, it does not look good. So what's the takeaway from all this for Disney? This whole thing is a bit like replacing your grandma's secret pie recipe with the trendy kale salad. Sure, it's healthy and politically correct, but where's the sauce? Not every fairy tale needs a political agenda. Sometimes a story is just a story, even if it does involve a talking mirror and a very needy queen. Disney had the idea that reimagining a beloved classic would automatically translate into success. Instead, what actually happened was a storm of casting decisions that split the fan base, narrative choices that alienated purists, and political stances that turned a family film into a public forum. In the end, Snow White ended up becoming nothing of what it was supposed to be, but instead a public show that's left everyone wondering whether it's a political debate or a movie. Anyway, one thing is certain, this won't be the last time we'll see a reimagination of a Disney classic, but whether or not Disney will learn from this whole debacle is the million-dollar question. Anyway, what do you think about Snow White? Have you watched it, or are you even going to watch it? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss my next upload, and I'll see you in the next one.